So the first Black female moment, Clyde, actually started back in 2004 when I was appointed operations manager for Barloworld Truck Hire. But I'd been with Barloworld when I got to 2006, I'd been with Barloworld for 10 years. And I wanted to expand my horizons and my knowledge about the motor industry and how it hangs together. So that is when I resigned from Barloworld after them having given me my break. And I was appointed as the first national operations manager for a car rental company in the country. I didn't like car rental, to be honest with you. And I was then headhunted by one of the motor groups in the country. And they offered me a dealer principal position. And to be honest with you, Clyde, I was interviewed by that group for almost a year by the managing director. And the more he spoke to me about this dealership environment, and there's many departments. I mean, there's new cars, used cars, parts, service, and this thing called F&I, which is finance and insurance, where we then do the finance applications with the banks for people to buy the cars. I then realized that I knew absolutely nothing about the space. And I declined it. He offered it to me, and I didn't want to fail. So I said to him, thank you. I'm going to walk away from this one because I don't want to bite into something that I've got no idea of. And then a few months passed, and then he called me again. And he was flying to Germany, and he called me whilst I was waiting at the airport. And I still remember it was the 27th of April in 2009. And he called me and he said, listen, Marcia, what's it going to take? I said, to do what? And he said, to bring you on board. And I said, you know what, Gert, teach me. If you teach me how to do this job, I promise I won't disappoint you. He then said to me, okay, no problem. He said, I'll send you an offer in the next 2 minutes. So I sat there and he sent me an SMS. It was before WhatsApp. He sent me an SMS and made me an offer. And he said, I'll teach you for 24 months. And I was getting this big bonus where I was working before, but I knew that there was not a Black female dealer principal in the country. Why would I forego an opportunity like this one? Resigned at my previous job and started working for the group. And 18 months later, I was appointed as the first Black female dealer principal in South Africa for Volkswagen and Audi. And what did that mean? That meant that that goal that set and realized, all the young ladies that were working in the motor retail space. Remember, in the motor retail space, all people see is sales. If you say, I work at a dealership, they say, oh, you sell cars. You could be in the admin department, but when you say, I work at Ford Brummer, you sell cars, you know? And then all of a sudden, here was this Black female dealer principal, and all these young ladies said, sure, we are salespeople. We didn't even think you could be a manager, let alone a dealer principal. There are so many of those young women that are still in my life who are sales managers, who are trainee dealer principals. It is such a rewarding journey, knowing that I influenced an awakening and a realization that it can be done.
Being the first Black, obviously, it had to come with a lot of challenges. I think one of the questions would have been, can she do it? Can women do it? How did those questions push you to become the person that you became during that time and the person that you are today?
I realized very early on that you can't do this on your own. And I draw that strength from my mother passing away. So many people influenced what is sitting in front of you today, that when I got that opportunity, I quickly identified how critical it is to have a strong team behind me. Because I was new, I had no experience. The people that actually knew the job were the experts. And for me, and till today, I say to people, my career is only the way it is because of the teams that I've been blessed to work with. Because I invest a lot of time with my people. I look after my people. But I'm also very hard on my people. Brand Pretorius, the previous CEO of McCarthy, said to me, Marcia, be hard on results, be soft on people. And that's my mantra. I build teams. I say to people, I don't build individuals, I build teams. But within those teams, individuals rise up. I was lucky I built a strong team in that first Black female moment. And I still remember we came second. After my appointment, it was the awards for the group. And that dealership came second. And I was literally in that position for 6 months. And one of our team members looked at me and said, I was very happy with second place because I had not messed this thing up in 6 months, you know? And this team member came to me and said, do you know that you're the first loser? I said, what do you mean? He said, second place means you lost first place. I was not happy. I came back and I said, listen, guys, we want first place next year. So to answer your question, it's the teams. The teams are the ones that really give me the credibility, because then my colleagues start thinking that, you know what, she actually does have the ability and she can deliver. But it's been very tough. And I want to share this story with you because I think it's important and it must be told. Because of exactly that reason of being a woman at Clyde, I pushed myself very hard. And without even realizing that I had so much to prove to my male counterparts. And I think I lost myself in the process, and I wanted to be so much part of the culture. I lost my nurturing side. I assumed male personalities, you know, you talk rough to people, you know, there's no time for emotions. And then I just lost myself, and I actually ended up having a nervous breakdown in 2015. And I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and I landed up in a facility, and that led me to actually take a break. I took an 18-month sabbatical, and that is what I'd also want to caution women for this Women's Month. We are nurturing by nature, and it doesn't mean that we are in this male-dominated industry that we have to lose ourselves in the process. Walk like men, talk like men. It doesn't mean that at all. And that is something that I want to share. And I remembered what made me successful in the beginning. And I'm just applying that now, but with a far more feminine touch. And that's what I want women to remember. We bring a completely different element to boardrooms, to meetings, to teams. And don't get lost in the male testosterone. Don't forget to be the nurturer that you are. In this day and age, it's very much needed. We are dealing with human beings, and empathy and emotional intelligence is right up there in terms of leadership qualities.
Now, if someone asked you and said, as a manager, do you think a manager is as good as their team, or the team is as good as their manager? How do you summarize that in let's say, a sentence?
I would say it's both. I think your team is just as important as leadership. You can have an absolutely awesome team, but if the leadership is not right, that team will not succeed. So it's a bit of both. So if we go to war, the captain is just as important. If you say it's a Navy team on the sea, so the captain of that ship is just as important as the team on the ship. So it's definitely both. And leadership for me is crucial, especially in these trying times. Values and ethics and leadership is extremely important. And I pride myself with that. I believe I'm a very good leader. And I wish I could work for myself one day.
Looking at the stages of development in this at Barloworld, if you were to summarize them in a make of a car, let's say a Ford or a Mazda, how would you put it?
I would say I consider myself to be a Ford Everest. It's a very understated car, and you know, in South Africa, there's only one SUV in that bracket that people want to drive, and it's big. The Ford Everest is big, it's bold, but it's such a smooth and comfortable drive. And yes, I think that is that. And people who don't know me, they tend to think, because of my personality is quite out there, they tend to think that I'm an extrovert, and I'm actually not. I only become alive when I'm comfortable. So yes, I'd be a Ford Everest. I'm comfortable, I'm easygoing, but I'm also firm. I'm comfortable drive. but big and bold in presence. You cannot ignore Fort Everest when it's on the road. And then going back to 2011, probably a Ford Focus RS. You know, I was young, I was tenacious, I had a point to prove. The curves came my way, I could take any curve. And you know what? Marcia Mayaba had arrived, and the first Black female movement was just awesome, and I just wanted to be out there. So yes, I would definitely be a Ford Focus RS.